$1,000 a week, a month. And he's like, what? But I'll give you stock options. So we started off. This was our hypothesis. Our value proposition that we were going to have real-time inventory in the store, in management. Because you know what happens? There's 38 companies in Charlottesville that are below 500 pounds. They have no inventory system. There's no beep, beep, beep. They have to go there and they have to stock the shelves themselves. There's no delivery. Except some stores of Whole Foods will pay for your shipping of FedEx and UPS. But guess what happened when I opened up this can of worms? Management at Whole Foods found out what was going on, and they stopped it. And they wanted just to use us. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm loaded. This is gonna work. Let's continue. So I was gonna do an accounts receivable processing for them. Okay, I was gonna do all their accounting. I run an IT firm in Calcutta, India. That's how I was gonna do this. We've had it for over 12 years. We work for hedge funds, the Mercantile Stock Exchange, Wall Street. I had a virtual warehouse. That means I had these really cool trucks. 1/3 of them were refrigerated, 2/3 were not. They were big. They were going to be ergonomic. They're going to be green. My Harvard buddy was all green. Whatever. And so we were doing all this green stuff, right? Because I'm an old guy. I don't know much about this stuff. I learned it all from you. So we're doing all this green stuff. We're going to have military logistics people to drive it. It was totally awesome. And we were going to be able to hold their inventory on our trucks. And then we were strategically going to place places around Virginia, and wait till you see what we had. It was beautiful. It was a great idea. Let's continue. So we were doing point-to-point distribution. Unlike the hub and spoke system they do now, we were doing point-to-point distribution. It takes a little more time, a little more expensive, but it's easier for you, the consumer. So then I was using this new type of truck, and it was cool, and they were making it just for us. Right? Each truck was $225,000. I was all in. That's my value proposition. I went over to customer segment, and I said, okay, who is my vendor, right? Who's really gonna buy this from me? And it was Whole Foods and vendors delivering below 500 pounds. So it was you, the vendor, the 38 people here that were in Charlottesville to start with, that are delivering food to Whole Foods by getting in their car and driving all over Virginia. Okay? They were mine. But do you know how many of these are in the United States? There's over 8,000 of them. Okay? From there is, how am I going to get the value proposition to the customer segment? Dry refrigeration, eco-friendly trucks, point-to-point distribution. And then what I did is I took Virginia and I put it into a zone. I'll show it to you. I put it into a zone system. And I'm going to show you how we were going to charge for that, because what was my revenue stream going to be? Well, the customer relations, how was I going to keep and grow? I was just using Whole Foods, so that's how I was going to get. Whole Foods says, you do this, I will give you everybody who's below 500 pounds who will use your system. I'm like, everybody? They said everybody. And they gave me this really nice lady, and we hooked up together. They gave me management in Maryland. I mean, it was huge. It was great, okay? So how was I going to keep them? From product following, they were going to be able to follow their product by using a little GPS. They were going to be able to follow with their product. And then the product, we were going to get a text when it hit the shelves. And then when it was taken off the shelves, when there was 3 left, we were going to have a little system inside the shelf saying, hey, you only have 3 on this shelf. I mean, it was the coolest thing that we were developing. It really was. Whole Foods was impressed. I was impressed. And I barely know how to turn on my cell phone. So it was awesome. Then what we were going to do, the easier of use, customer support, we were going to have a customer support, and then grow. We were going to upsell through our inventory system. We're going to upsell through a referral service. You refer somebody, we'll give you 20% discount. So that was my marketing strategy. From there, how am I going to make money? Well, we had a couple ways. One through me at Delivery Express. Oh my God, I'm almost out. Can you get me to Washington today? Sure, $9,000. I'm joking on the $9,000. But it's going to be a lot more expensive. So it was called Delivery Express. But really we're going to use either 1, the zone, 4 zones, 2 by weight, or 3 by size. Think about this. People will package something. You only have so much cubic feet inside a truck. So I wanted to go by size. But I'll tell you what I found out through my research. Okay? And then we had our inventory software was another revenue stream, and we were going to do consulting. Why do people fail? They fail because they don't know. Do you know that you have an 80% greater chance of success if you take a business class? 1. Can you imagine what the success rate is for an incubator, for an accelerator? Think about that. So we were going to do consulting work for people. All right? So this is how I was going to make money. From there, my key resources, I needed investors on this one. This was probably going to be about a $5 million deal. I was going to put in 20%. My software development, I was going to pay for. The trucks, I was going to pay for. The offices, I had to get that. My resources, I needed employees. We were going to hire military employees for logistics. And then I needed licensing and bonding. And you need a whole bunch of stuff when you start a delivery company. All right? So that was my key resources. And then what I needed for my key activities right away, I had to get an agreement with Whole Foods. They did not understand who I thought I was, so they weren't moving as fast as I thought they should have. You get that one? I was calling and calling, and I am a pit bull. I don't stop. Funny, I drove there, and I sat down, and they're like, you got to lighten up. Right? And they took a meeting with me, and we started going over the paperwork, and they said, okay, we agreed to this agreement right now. But we haven't signed it yet. We got to send it to legal. I said, okay. So they weren't acting as fast as I wanted. I needed investor meetings. Investors were very interested because I had Whole Foods on. But if I didn't have Whole Foods, investors weren't interested. You see this chicken or egg thing that you guys are going to run into? And I'll tell you how I handled that. The next thing I had to do is I developed an MVP software. And wait till you see it. When I wanted to sell this thing, I put it on a PowerPoint presentation. I rented out the Omni Hotel, and I invited all these people in, and you know 100% came. I've never had 100% anything. That's the biggest pain point that I was able to figure out that these people really wanted. But it was a very small MVP, a minimum viable product that people could see, touch, and feel. And I'll show you what that looked like. Okay? I had a negotiated building that I already had. I went on road shows. Those road shows were packed when I was showing them this thing. And I had to research the customer. The next thing I had to get was key partners, which was Whole Foods. Eaton was the corporation we're going to buy the trucks from. And then Elmore Associates were the guys from San Francisco who they actually owned my train station. They owned probably 1/3 of Charlottesville. And they were going to buy all the buildings, and I was going to lease it back to them on a 10-year lease. So I had an agreement with them. They were all in. They thought this was the best thing since sliced bread. Everybody is up. You see how excited I am? I was excited. Wait till you see what I learned. That excitement just crushed me. I still don't know if I recovered from it. All right? I had to get the vendors on board. That was easy. And then what did we do? We had to figure out a cost structure. I had to figure out how much this was going to cost. It came out to about $5 million. And then what the recurring costs were, which was vendors, distribution, employees, so forth and so on. Do we understand what my hypothesis is here?
So you're not investing anything in sales here. It's all Whole Foods is going to give you all your customers.
Correct. And they gave me their whole database. Everybody that delivers below 500 pounds. And we sat, I'll continue on.
Just to get an idea of how small the vendors are, do you mean 500 pounds to Whole Foods period, or 500 pounds to each Whole Foods?
So 500 pounds to each Whole Foods. You know, which is very interesting, each Whole Foods, believe it or not, is a separate P&L, of course. But it's almost treated like a separate company. It's a very interesting model. Please ask questions as we go along. So, this is what I did. I got up in front of 38 vendors. They brought their wives, their kids. There was 100 people in the room. It was packed. It was standing room only. Omni Hotel. July 25th, 2013. I started my empire. This was the empire that I was starting, and I was excited. Right? Watch how the empire goes. So this is the MVP. I didn't put this on. I did this for you. So I started going through the story. You have to go through the story of what the opportunity was. Right? So the opportunity was that I was going to be able to really get these local people to build their companies. I was going to be a part of it. They were going to employ people. We were going to take America out of recession. I always think very small, as you notice. And we named it Made from Around Here. That's what we were naming this, right? And everybody just had this big smile on their face. That's my little Piccolo distribution over there. I had a logo, trademarked it. I mean, I was ready to rock. Then, what happened was, so I started going over the problem with these people. And they all knew it. Everyone's shaking their head. And you're watching their pupils dilate. And everyone's getting all excited. And I'm going through all this stuff. And all this stuff that they're learning that they're having problems with. Why? Because I interviewed over 500 of them. And I put the biggest top pain points right up there. And they're all shaking their head yes. They're shaking. They're almost getting up out of their seat. I mean, they were so excited. So from the problem, I said, here I am. I'm the solution, right? I should have put a cape on my back. And I said, there's 4 ways of getting your product to Whole Foods. Right now, there were 4 ways, okay? There's called a wholesale distributor, as you're probably learning about right now. Those are the people that will buy it at a discounted rate and then resell it, right? But you gotta pay 15% and then another 7.5%, it's 23% markup. By the time it's all said and done, right? Then you're paying Whole Foods 40% to put it on their shelves. Where's me? There's no me. It's gotta be about me, right? The next way you can do it is called broadline distribution or a hub and spoke system, where I could drive my butt up to Winchester, drop off 1 case of Bella's, and then they distribute it for me. Or else I can go to Washington and Richmond and stack the shelves myself. We actually quantified how much time that would cost, because these people were really cooking in their house and distributing this. They weren't business people, so I had to quantify how much time they were wasting and how much they were paying themselves $20 an hour. It was an astronomical amount. They were like, I never done that. The next thing we did was UPS and FedEx, 31%. And Whole Foods was stopping. Some of them would pay, some of them would not pay. And then the next thing was, deliver it yourself. Deliver it yourself. Try that. You know how much time it took to get to Washington? We timed it. I took it from here, I went to Washington, Whole Foods in Fairfax, and came back. It was 7.5 hours. 1 case, and dropped off. What? Think about that time. I make a little more than $20 an hour. So, just think about that. So when they heard me say this, they're like, oh my God, I've been doing this for 3 years, like trying to hide themselves, right? So, now what I did is I hit the pain point, I hit the solution. Now it's time to show them how I'm gonna do it, all right? And what we did is we broke up into 4 zones, and we were doing a point-to-point distribution. We had refrigerated storage, it was a virtual warehouse, and this is the way the zones played. People were like, that is ingenious, that is cool. But as I started talking about the zones, and I started interviewing them, guess what I found out? They were all very price sensitive. They didn't want the zones, and I'll show you what they did now. Okay? So that's how I went into the Piccolo distribution. From here, I went into the value proposition, and I started talking about how we're going to change their lives, we're going to save them time and money, and we're going to allow them to expand, because they can't expand right now. How are you going to expand if you don't have a delivery service? How are you going to get about 500 pounds if you can't even get to 9 stores in Virginia? Think about that, right? There's bigger problems in New Jersey, California, the big places where Whole Foods are at right now, right? So what I did is I went and I started showing them the value proposition. From Piccolo distribution, I wanted to show them the advantages of using us and how we have a better level of service. Because think about this, every time you go into a Whole Foods, you're talking to a different buyer. Different buyer, different buyer, different buyer. So you're forming relationships with all these people, and you don't know what. Some accept Federal Express, some do not. Some accept UPS, some do not. Some want to buy your product, some do not. So we're going to be a single point of unit that was going to take care of their distribution, their inventory service, and their customer service. We were going to do that. So they got it. They got that part, okay? And we were going to be the grocery retailers that normally other people ship, but we were going to take care of that. All right? So, the brand identity we were going to do. This was the truck, which was just a little bigger, but this was going to be our first truck. We wanted to start off small, okay? And then what we did is we were going to hire the military people that were coming out, because they were great with trucks, and they were great with distribution. They already got it. So we're kind of doing the American flag thing. We were talking about how we were going green and how we were going to create our distribution channel. Everybody loved that. They were all cool about that. And this was the business model that we were going to do. There's really 2 types. There's the distribution and there's the inventory monitoring. We were going to be their distributor and we were going to be their inventory monitoring. Wait till you see what I found out, though, as I started researching, which was very interesting, okay? It had to be convenient and cost effective. 780 clients said that. That was the key takeaway that I took, all right, from my road shows. So, and I'm paying for all these road shows, all over Virginia, and they're coming out of the woodwork. And Whole Foods is giving me this information to talk to them, and they were loving it, all right? So, this is my revenue model, okay, how I was gonna make money. I was straight up with them. I said, how do you wanna pay for this? You can pay through a zone, you can pay through boxes. So if you take it up really, really small, I won't charge you as much. Got it? But if you're gonna put like one bottle in a box this big, you're gonna get charged. Because I only have so much square footage. And I figured out how much my break-even square footage was in the truck. Okay? Or it could be by weight. However you want to do this, it's up to you. And so then what we did is I discussed the team, and that was it. Phone rang off the hook the next day. Everybody was in. Every time I did a road show, whether it was in Richmond or Washington, D.C., wherever it was, the phone rang off the hook. And everybody wanted in. I said, well, I haven't started it yet. That was just a PowerPoint, and it's a thought, but I'll start getting it together. So then what happened was this. So this is what actually happened over here. So as I started interviewing and doing road shows, I found out that no one could really care about the accounts receivable. Actually, the point-to-point distribution, they didn't understand it. The only reason I did is because I'm a retired airline captain. And I remember before they had a hub and spoke systems, they didn't understand what point-to-point is. Right? So they're like, I don't want that. I'm like, oh, okay, just more money for me. No, that's not the way it works. And you know what? They could care less about green. What do you think they cared about? The other green. They cared about the money. It was only the money. That stuff that we all think that people want to do the right thing. Not when it comes to distribution to Whole Foods. Right? So, I took that away. So that's what I was left with on my value proposition. Then I went over here. Guess what I found out? Whole Foods was interested in my software system. They wanted my software system to hook up to theirs for people with 500 pounds and less, so they don't have to sit there and go like this and count all this stuff. Or have people come in and say, hey, whoa, where's my food? Where's my tea? Where's my red sauce? Where's my, hey, that thing's been empty for 3 days. We replaced it. Well, you can imagine how that would break loose when that happened. And so the managers were complaining. So Whole Foods wanted us. So now I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is a Whole Foods play. And then from there, the channel, I got rid of the point-to-point, and I kept the zones. And from there, I found out on the revenue model that they just wanted the zones. They didn't want the weight, and they didn't want the size. And the zones was better for me. I made more money by just doing the zones. Okay? And it was easier for me to do zones. So that worked out real well, but I got rid of that. Do you see how I'm starting to subtract stuff out of here now? Right here, key resources, the investment, Whole Foods. Once again, did not understand who I thought I was. They didn't understand the urgency that I was trying to place on it. It wasn't working. So without Whole Foods, I wasn't getting investors. Without investors, I'm not starting this thing. You see how all this starts? It's like this domino effect. And so the investors weren't there. The trucks, they weren't $225. They were $380 a truck. These things were so green and expensive. So, yeah. So then I went to a regular truck distribution. You know what I get a truck for? 18-wheeler, $125. I'm like, so much for green, right? So now I'm going down with the trucks because they didn't care anyway. I just told me over here they didn't care about the trucks. So I went to a regular 18-wheeler and I blocked off 1/3 of it and I made it refrigeration. All right? And then from there, what key activities? Agreement with Whole Foods. This is where my heart got broke. I drive to Maryland. I meet with Whole Foods. We're ready to sign the contract. I look at the contract. It's not the one I gave them. It looked nothing. Nothing like what I gave them. So we started going back and forth. You probably can notice that I get a little hyped up. And boy, I got hyped at this one. And so now it was, I knew I was walking out without a contract. So I'm just going to blow the place up. I'm just going to blow it up.
So what was it about the contract that was so different?
it blew me away, and that's a great question. He said,